At Sunday lunch, my sister's son pointed and said, "Mom says you're selfish." Everyone clapped. I smiled and said, "Then she won't miss the $6,000 I deposit for her every month." She froze mid-laugh, eyes wide. My sister's son Logan said it, but it could just as easily have come straight from Megan's mouth. We were halfway through dinner. My sister Megan showed up 40 minutes late, wearing sunglasses and carrying a Louis Vuitton bag that I recognized from my closet 5 years ago. Her son Logan, 8 years old, said loudly and clearly, "Mommy says you're selfish." And the whole damn table laughed. Not awkward laughter. Not confused, nervous, kids say the worst things laughter. It was clapping, giggling, Travis nearly choking on his soda. Even my cousin Ethan wiped a tear from the corner of his eye. That's when I realized. It wasn't just Megan. They were talking. That moment. It wasn't some kid who blurted out something inappropriate. It was planned. Maybe not rehearsed, but it was thrown in. Rehearsed. And it all turned out the way Megan wanted it to. Everyone was enjoying the show and I was the climax. I could have played dumb. I could have laughed along and said something like, "Oh kids," and let it go like I usually do. But something inside me snapped. I put down my fork. I looked straight at Megan, then at Logan. I smiled. "Then she won't miss the $6,000 I deposit into her account every month." The laughter didn't just stop. It died down. You could feel the mood in the room shift like a power outage. Travis looked at Megan. Mom blinked at me like she wasn't sure she heard correctly. Logan looked around the table, confused, probably wondering why his little climax had turned into a funeral. I continued. Monthly. Like clockwork. Mortgage. Utilities. Groceries. Sometimes daycare. All of this was quietly worked out because she told me they were struggling and didn't want anyone to know. "Megan, if I'm selfish, does that mean you're just forgetful? Silence. I left it at that for a moment. The only sound in the room was the ticking of that ridiculous ceramic rooster clock above the kitchen door. Megan didn't move. Her face was frozen in that strained, fake smile she always does when she's caught in a lie but doesn't yet know how deep she's been caught. Then Aunt Janice, bless her heart, asked if it was true. And not gently. She sounded angry. Megan muttered something about "it's complicated," and that's when Mom interrupted her and asked her outright if I was the one paying her bills. I didn't answer right away. I just reached into my bag, pulled out my phone and slid it across the table. Banking app open. Transaction history open. Megan B. $6,000 on the 1st of every month. 12 times since last October. Another $18,000 spread out over various one-time expenses. Some of them were labeled utilities. One was labeled urgent medical care. One simply said, "Don't tell Travis." No one spoke. Travis leaned back in his chair. Megan's hand twitched as if she wanted to grab the phone, but she changed her mind. Then she looked around and saw that no one else was laughing. That's when she did what she always did when she lost. She started to make noise. "I'm sick of this shit," she said suddenly, her voice sharp and shaky. I'm sick of everyone acting like Olivia's some kind of saint. She's not. She does it to feel superior. It's controlling. She buys loyalty. She's manipulative, cold, and Mom told her to stop. Aunt Janice told her she was embarrassing herself. Travis didn't say a word. I picked up my phone, wiped the crumbs off the screen and put it back in my bag. Then I stood up. I didn't argue. I didn't get defensive. I just thanked Mom for lunch and left. No slamming the door. No dramatic speeches. I just left. I sat in the car for a few minutes before I drove off. My hands were still. I didn't feel anything. No anger. No relief. Not even sadness. It's just over. And for the first time in over a year, I turned off automatic payments. No more $6,000. No more saving Megan from herself. Let her talk. Let them laugh. Let them see what happens without me. The next morning I had 15 missed calls. 9 from Megan. 2 from Mom. 1 from Travis. 3 unknown numbers. Probably relatives who suddenly found their voice. I didn't answer a single one. I wasn't interested in damage control. I wasn't in the mood for explanations or fake apologies. Instead, I opened my laptop and forwarded every bank statement, every receipt, every email confirmation for the payments I'd made on Megan's behalf to my mother. I didn't say a word in the message. No subject line. Just the documents. Let them make their own conclusions. At noon, Travis texted me. He said, "I didn't know. I'm sorry." I ignored it. I didn't believe it anyway. He knew enough to laugh. That's all I needed to know. By evening, Mom showed up at my door. Not a call first. Not even a knock. She just stood there holding a pie like that would smooth things over. I didn't let her in. I opened the door halfway and asked if she read what I sent. She nodded. Looked exhausted. Then she said something that stuck with me. She told us you'd cut her off because she wouldn't lend you money. That stopped me. Because it wasn't just a lie. It was a rewriting of everything. She had painted herself as the generous one. Me as the greedy sister. And everyone bought it because it was easier than questioning why Megan had a Louis Vuitton bag and no income. I asked Mom if she believed her. She said she wasn't sure what to believe anymore. I told her I didn't need her to pick sides. Just not to expect me to sit quietly at the table while people clap for my humiliation. Then I closed the door. 2 days passed. The silence was louder than anything Megan had ever said to my face. Then on Wednesday the real fallout began. First, my cousin Lily posted something vague on Facebook about people pretending to be saints with their money while poisoning the family. The comments section turned into a battlefield. People taking sides. Screenshots flying. Someone even posted the bank transfers I'd sent Megan. I didn't. I guess Mom did. Or Travis. Then came the texts from people I hadn't heard from in years. Cousins I barely saw at weddings. Old friends of Megan's asking if it was true. Saying they always knew something was off. And then the call from Megan. I didn't answer. She called again. Then again. 6 times in 1 hour. The 7th time I picked up. She didn't say hello. He just said, "You've ruined my life." I told her she did that herself. She said she was being harassed. That Travis's family had found out everything. That he was staying at a hotel. That Logan had started asking questions about why people were saying his mom was a liar. And then the real reason she called. I need you to fix this. Not apologize. Not explain. Fix it. As if I was still the same Olivia she could lean on. The Olivia who quietly solved her problems behind the scenes while she trashed me to anyone who'd listen. I told her she needed to figure it out on her own now. She screamed something into the phone. I didn't catch it all. Just the words ungrateful, family, and you think you're so perfect. I hung up. And for the first time in years I felt free. I'd carried Megan like dead weight for so long, I forgot what it felt like to walk on my own. But she wasn't done. Not even close. I should have known she wouldn't let it go. Megan's not the type to retreat quietly. When she loses control, she doesn't regroup, she escalates. That Friday I was sitting at my desk at work when the HR director knocked on my office door and asked if I had a moment. That alone sent a chill down my spine. I work in corporate finance. If HR shows up out of nowhere, it's never good news. I followed her down the hall, trying to stay calm, running every recent email in my head. But when I walked into the small conference room, I stopped cold. Sitting there, arms crossed, was Megan. She was flushed, eyes red, with a stack of papers on the table. Before I could say a word, she looked straight at the HR director and said, "This is her. She's been embezzling family funds for over a year." I almost laughed. I didn't. But I almost did. The HR director turned to me like she was waiting for a response. I sat down slowly and asked what the hell was going on. Megan pulled out printed screenshots of our personal bank transfers. Not company accounts. Personal transactions between my bank and hers. She had scribbled notes in red pen like some deranged detective, arrows pointing to amounts, lines under memo sections that said things like "for rent" and "utilities." She said I'd been funneling money through my job's vendor accounts to clean it and launder it into her name. The HR director looked visibly uncomfortable. She told Megan this was a family matter, and unless there was evidence tied to the company, there was nothing to investigate. Megan stood up and said, "She's hiding the evidence. She's covering her tracks. That's what she does." I didn't say anything. I didn't have to. She was unraveling right there in front of a professional third party. Security was called. They escorted her out of the building while she shouted about how I destroyed her family and ruined her reputation and how I was going to regret humiliating her. I sat there for a long time after she was gone. The HR director didn't say much, just asked if I needed a moment. I told her I was fine. I wasn't. Later that night, I found out Megan had posted a 10-minute video to Facebook. A full-blown meltdown filmed from her car, parked in some empty lot. She was crying, mascara smeared, talking about how she was being betrayed by the one person who was supposed to protect her. She said I manipulated her into taking money she didn't want. That I dangled money over her head to make her feel small. That I turned her child against her. That I was jealous of her because she had a family and I didn't. She ended it by saying, "If anything happens to me, Olivia did it." That video got over 20,000 views in 48 hours. It got shared by old high school classmates, some distant relatives. Even a couple of people from work found it. That weekend I turned off my phone. I sat in my apartment with the blinds drawn and tried to make sense of what was happening. I kept replaying it. All of it. The dinners. The calls. The emergencies. The time she cried in my arms after Logan got sick. All of it felt like it had been erased with one swipe of her madness. And then Monday morning I got a call. Not from Megan. Not from Mom. From Child Protective Services. They'd received an anonymous report that Megan's child was being neglected. The caller said she was unstable, possibly on substances, and emotionally abusive. They wanted to speak to me. Not as a suspect. As a reference. The CPS agent was polite, professional, and surprisingly calm for someone about to throw a grenade into an already burning house. She asked if I had a few minutes to talk. I said yes, knowing exactly what this was. I asked if I could guess who made the call. She didn't confirm or deny, but I could tell she knew I knew. She said a report had come in about Megan being unfit, erratic behavior, unstable home, possibly under the influence in front of Logan. The caller hadn't given their name, but they had mentioned me. Said I might have insight into Megan's parenting. That was the moment I felt the line snap. The one I hadn't even realized I'd been holding on to. Because say what you want about Megan, she's a liar, a leech, a manipulator. But she's always loved Logan. And Logan is innocent. He's the only reason I kept helping her as long as I did. So no, I didn't tell them what Megan wanted me to. I didn't go on some crusade to destroy her. But I didn't lie either. I told them the truth. That Megan had been under serious emotional stress. That her husband had recently left. That she'd been the subject of online harassment. Of her own making. That I'd helped her financially for over a year and that I'd only recently cut ties. I told them Logan always seemed healthy, fed, safe and loved. But I also said I hadn't been inside their home in months and couldn't speak to what went on behind closed doors now. The agent thanked me and said they'd follow up if needed. I knew what that meant. They'd already decided to check in on her in person. And sure enough, by Tuesday afternoon Megan was back at it. This time it was a series of Instagram stories. Her sitting in her kitchen, red-eyed, holding Logan like a human shield, saying someone evil and jealous was trying to get her child taken away. And then straight to the camera. "Olivia, I hope you're happy. You finally got what you wanted. You poisoned my life, my family, and now you're going after my son." By that night I had voicemails from people I hadn't seen in a decade. Some of them threatening. Some begging me to make peace. One from an old friend of Megan's telling me she was spiraling and might hurt herself. I didn't respond. I couldn't. Every time I reached out in the past I made things worse. And this time it wasn't just about drama. It was about a kid. But here's the thing. People started turning. Not just silently. Loudly. Aunt Janice posted screenshots of the original bank transfers to her own Facebook page, tagging Megan. She wrote, "You called Olivia selfish while she was keeping your lights on. The truth always comes out." Travis broke his silence too. He posted a long message, clearly written with the help of a lawyer, saying he was deeply concerned for Logan and that Megan was not currently in a state to manage this level of stress without support. He confirmed he had left the house voluntarily. That Megan had refused therapy. That he had proof of her threats against me. That's when the tide shifted. Suddenly people weren't laughing at Logan's little comment at lunch. They were asking why Megan let her son be used like that. Why she was trying to drag her sister through the mud after a year of private support. Even Mom, who'd been weirdly neutral through all of it, finally snapped. She posted a single sentence to our family group chat. Just one. "You owe your sister an apology before you lose her forever." Megan didn't respond. But she didn't need to. Because 3 days later she showed up at my door. And she brought Logan with her. It was just after 8 p.m. when I heard the knock. Not a text. Not a call. Just 3 slow knocks on the front door. I checked the peephole and froze. Megan holding Logan's hand. He was in his pajamas. She looked like she hadn't slept in days. Her hair was pulled back badly like she'd done it in the car. Logan was holding a stuffed animal, the same beat-up lion I bought him when he was 2. I opened the door halfway. Said nothing. She didn't ask to come in. She didn't even look up right away. Then she said, "I have nowhere to go." I looked at Logan. He looked exhausted. Not scared, just tired in a way a child shouldn't be. Like he'd been kept up too long by adult problems. I asked where Travis was. She said he'd taken a restraining order out that morning. I didn't say anything. I didn't even blink. Then she said something I'll never forget. "You won, bae. You win." She said it like I'd been playing a game. Like all of this, the lies, the public meltdowns, the humiliation at Sunday lunch, had been a competition I'd finally scored higher in. Like I wanted to beat her. Not just stop bleeding for her. I told her this wasn't about winning. She said, "Then what do you want?" I looked down at Logan and said the first honest thing I could. "I want him to be okay." Megan nodded. Fully. She knew I wasn't going to let him sleep in a car. Not him. I let them in. Just for the night. I made up the guest room and let Logan sleep there while Megan crashed on the couch. She didn't speak. Didn't cry. Just curled up under the blanket I handed her and stared at the ceiling like she was waiting for something to end. I didn't sleep. I sat at the kitchen table all night thinking. Because now this wasn't just a broken relationship. It wasn't about Facebook videos or bank statements or family lunches. It was about a kid. A scared, tired little boy who didn't choose any of this. In the morning, Megan was quiet. She poured coffee but didn't drink it. I handed her a piece of paper. A printed list of 3 women's shelters nearby, and 1 private clinic that handled inpatient care for mental health and addiction. She looked at it, didn't touch it, then said, "You want me out?" I told her I wanted her to get help. Real help. Not another Band-Aid. Not another secret check. I told her she couldn't stay with me. Not this time. I wasn't going to carry her anymore. But I would help her find a place to land, if she was willing to actually work on herself. She asked what would happen to Logan. I said that was up to her. And CPS. And Travis. But not me. Not anymore. Megan left 2 hours later with Logan and didn't say goodbye. Just walked out, list in hand. Later that night Travis called. Told me she had shown up at his hotel. Said she handed him the list I gave her. No yelling. No scene. Just handed it to him and said, "I need to go somewhere for a while." She checked herself into the clinic the next morning. I didn't tell anyone. Not Mom. Not Aunt Janice. No social media announcements. I just waited. It was the first adult thing Megan had done in years. And it only happened when she had absolutely no one left to fall on but herself. It's been 6 weeks. Megan's still at the clinic. I haven't visited, but Travis sends updates. Says she's actually trying this time. Therapy. Group work. Dates. The whole thing. Logan's with him full-time. He's doing better. Back in school. Plumber. He drew me a picture last week. Stick figures of me, him, and a lion. No Megan in the picture. I didn't ask why. Mom finally stopped pushing for reconciliation. She brings over food sometimes but doesn't mention Megan anymore. We sit in silence a lot and for once it's not awkward. It's peaceful. Last night I got a letter in the mail. Handwritten. No return address but I knew the handwriting. It said, "I'm sorry. For all of it. If you never speak to me again I'll understand. Thank you for saving my son from me." That's it. No promises. No explanations. No begging. I folded the letter and put it in a drawer. I'm not ready to write back. I might never be. But for the first time in years I believe she might actually change. Not for me. Not for appearances. For Logan. And that's enough.